Now, this is without doubt one of the most insane war stories ever told. Okay?
Most insane.
Most insane. You probably won't find one in the last 200 years more insane
I
than
need a
this one.
chocolate for this.
So Roy P. Benavidez, that's the last time I'll say his last name, was born in South Texas in 1935 and raised by his uncle. Roy grew up poor, and by the time he had turned 18, he decided he wanted to join the army. Not too long after enlisting in the army, Roy went to airborne school before being assigned to the very well-known 82nd Airborne Division. In October 1964, Roy was one of the first 125,000 soldiers to be deployed to Vietnam. Roy was assigned to a classified operation which required him to dress up as an enemy soldier. During the operation, Roy stepped on a landmine and was severely injured and unable to move. Shortly after this, a team of American soldiers passed by Roy's position but almost kept on walking due to the fact that Roy was in an enemy uniform. Luckily, one of the soldiers decided to check, and they found that the wounded soldier was in fact an American soldier and had dog tags to confirm it. Roy was evacuated from Vietnam back to America and then taken to hospital. After making an assessment on Roy, the doctor's diagnosis was that Roy had a serious spinal injury and would very unlikely be able to walk again.
Ooh, that's not good.
No. However, Roy was determined to get back to the war that was now raging in Vietnam. He requested the hospital give him more time to prove he could walk again before he was officially discharged from the army. The hospital agreed to give Roy 1 extra year. Now, Roy used this time to his advantage, and every night he would roll himself out of bed, unbeknownst to the hospital staff, before dragging his limp body over to the wall, where he would slowly pull himself up while putting weight onto his legs.
Why?
Yep.
Why is he doing it at night? Just because he wanted to do it in all his downtime?
Yeah, I guess so.
He's just
Like
really,
the hospital
really
would have been
determined.
trying other therapy techniques.
Oh, so this wasn't a therapy technique that he was just doing.
He was just doing it on his own. Yeah.
Wow.
So this method proved effective, and after 6 months, Roy built the strength back up he needed to begin walking again. As I said, this was all done unbeknownst to the doctors in the hospital, who thought Roy was just a miracle case. Now, however, despite Roy's incredible effort to get himself walking again and getting the all clear from the hospital, he was not permitted to rejoin the 82nd Division.
Is that because of the extensive injury?
Injuries, yeah, exactly. So Roy was instead assigned to a desk job in North Carolina. Being the highly driven and determined person that Roy clearly was, he began training like a maniac every single day to get into elite shape. This is because Roy knew that North Carolina was also home to the training camp for the Green Berets, America's elite combat unit, which is also one of the hardest divisions to get into and has the most hardcore training. After a few months of intensive training on his own, Roy was in tip-top shape and approached his seniors to try out for the Green Berets. His seniors, who couldn't even believe Roy was walking, agreed to give him a shot, and just a short time later, Roy was officially a Green Beret.
Wow. I
Holy
bet that's
moly.
never happened before.
Yeah, so he's a hardcore
or
motherfucker.
again.
Yeah. So fast forward a couple of years to 1968, and Roy was once again deployed to Vietnam. During one of his days off from fighting, the now 33-year-old Master Sergeant was attending a church service when he heard that the Green Berets were involved in a gunfire. Roy ran outside and began listening to his radio, and he could hear screams of "Get us out of here" as a 12-man squad of Green Berets were being pinned down in the middle of the jungle by up to 1,500 Vietnamese soldiers who had completely surrounded them and had begun to open fire. So that's an entire infantry unit shooting at 12 people.
Crazy.
Yeah.
How are they not already dead?
Well, they're getting cover, but yeah, it's a fucking crazy situation. You know, in a gun battle, you don't want to just run in, even if you can clearly win. You just take your time
and
to make sure you take them out.
And even if you're surrounded, you're potentially
you can hold down
completely
suppressing
covered
fire.
anyway. Yeah.
A few of the men in the squad were killed in the first moments of the gun battle. 3 rescue choppers were even sent in attempts to rescue the soldiers, but they were forced to abort due to heavy gunfire and a rocket-propelled
because they don't have cover.
Launched at them. Yeah, that's right.
No cover for you.
Hearing the chaos that was ensuing, Roy begins to sprint to the helicopter landing zone where he sees the 3 returning choppers. Each had taken severe bullet damage, and when Roy ran up to the first chopper to land, he saw that the door gunner, a 19-year-old boy, was looking very dazed. Roy asked for a briefing on the situation, but the gunman responded by leaning over and dying.
Holy shit.
He had taken several shots.
He just leaned leaned over and died. No wonder he looked
got back.
dazed.
Yeah. Roy helped to get the dead soldier out of the chopper before turning to the pilot and telling him to take him to the battle zone. The pilot was keen to get back there, and so together the two men made their way back to the seemingly impossible situation taking place in the jungle. During the flight over, Roy realised he'd been so quick to get on the chopper and head out to the spot that he'd forgotten to bring his gun.
I was actually going to say that as a joke then, and then you said it.
And
So he forgot his weapon.
And all he had on him was his knife and a med kit.
Oh, fuck off.
The two men realised this, but decided to keep going anyway.
No, they did not.
So as the chopper approached the scene, gunfire began spraying out of the treetops and towards the chopper, forcing the pilot to make several evasive manoeuvres.
Did he whip out his bandages and try and throw him out?
As the chopper continued to maneuver to avoid being taken down, the two men inside it noticed some smoke coming from the jungle and realised that it's the surviving berets letting them know their position. Despite the pilot's best efforts to get close to the team, every time he got even fractionally close, the chopper would take so much gunfire it was at risk of being taken down. Eventually, the pilot decided that it was too risky to get to the zone and they would need to wait for reinforcement before making any rescue attempts. But Roy was having none of this. He told the pilot to get as low as he could so he could jump into the jungle and go Rambo on these motherfuckers. At first, the pilot said no.
I was going to say, no way.
But somehow, Roy managed to convince him that letting him, an unarmed man, jump without a parachute into the middle of the jungle and try and save a few dying men from the raining fire of 1,500 soldiers was the best thing to do.
Because who's going to argue with a crazy motherfucker?
The pilot got as low down as he could, and like a crazy man, Roy jumped straight through the canopy and into the heart of the chaos.
Holy shit. What? Did he want to die?
Roy survives the jump and hits the ground running straight towards the down squad.
He did not.
Roy was completely surrounded by gunmen who at first held off from firing, probably because of the shock of seeing this crazy dude who's just jumped from the chopper onto the ground.
Yeah.
But soon began shooting.
Here comes Rambo.
Yeah. So Roy was shot in the face, in the back of the head, and in the leg. He then had a grenade thrown at him, which detonated behind him, and heaps of shrapnel went into his back. But he kept on running.
Holy fucking shit.
So Roy managed to make it to the team, who by the time he had gotten there were in even worse shape than him. The team was attempting to take covers behind trees, but were taking heavy fire from all directions. 4 were dead and the rest were badly injured. In fact, the one in the best shape was a guy who'd been shot through the eye and was desperately firing in all directions.
No. What? And he's in the best shape.
Yeah.
So what?
The
They're
other
all
ones are
dead?
fucked.
They're all basically dead. What is the point of this?
So Roy ran to the one-eyed man, gave him a shot of morphine, positioned him so that his gun was...
because he had a medic kit.
Yeah, he had a medic kit,
Oh,
yeah.
that's an awesome medic kit.
Yeah,
Remember, we were just laughing about that just before.
So he positioned him so that his gun was aiming at some enemy soldiers and told him the direction to keep shooting in. Roy then army crawled to each member of the down squad and gave them morphine injections, all while under constant fire. He then began to drag the soldiers one by one to a site with better cover and a location where he thought a helicopter would be able to land. While dragging the other men away from the immediate danger zone, Roy noticed another 2 members of the 12-man squad team had been separated from the rest. Now, filled with more adrenaline than ever, Roy picks up a gun off of a dead soldier and began sprinting towards the 2 men, firing wildly in an attempt to hold back the enemy's fire. Of course, this did very little and Roy was basically just running and dodging bullets. As he approached the 2 men, a bullet went straight through his thigh, but it didn't even slow him down. Roy got
Did he take a big bowl of meth in the morning?
Oh, man.
No, we big of Fruit Loops. Meth on offer.
Roy got to the 2 men and yelled at them to crawl back to the team while he fired suppressing bullets. Roy continues to shoot in all directions as the men frantically crawl back to the team. Once they got there, Roy once again sprinted back through the hail of gunfire and to the team.
So I'm sorry, he's part of some robotics experiment, surely. He was
total
paralyzed.
machine.
Now he can walk, he becomes a beret, now he runs through bullets, jumps out of fucking helicopters, gets shrapnel in the back.
Like the
gets
007 of
fuck
war.
No, this is like a badly written action film.
Yeah, but it's true.
That's insane.
So now back with all members of the surviving squad, Roy hurled a smoke grenade hoping it would be seen by the chopper. The chopper did see the smoke and was able to get to the ground despite taking a heavy barrage of shells. Roy instructed the severely injured team to get to the chopper as he continued with his Rambo ways, running around the place, picking up guns from dead soldiers and firing in the direction of the now approaching and massive unit. Now, once the team had made it to the chopper, instead of making his way there too, Roy decided to try and retrieve the bodies of the fallen Green Berets. So with a gun in each hand, Roy runs straight into the enemy gunfire and begins bringing back the dead men. The first man he saw was one of Roy's best friends, a man named Leroy Wright. Roy picked up Leroy and began making his way to the chopper. However, he was shot again, this time through the stomach.
Oh,
but he just walked away. We know he's just going to walk
This wasn't
away.
enough
the
to
meth
stop
just
him.
covered that pain right up.
This wasn't enough to stop him, and he kept on running. And that is until another grenade went off behind him, lodging even more shrapnel into him and knocking him out cold.
Holy shit.
As Roy was regaining consciousness, he looked around and sees that enemies are running straight towards him through the tree lines. So he has to make the decision that he can't take his mate with him. He leaves him there and he gets up and he just starts fucking running back to the chopper.
Yeah, because you're literally running for your life now.
And he actually got there. However, when he got there, Roy saw the chopper was burning on the ground after being shot down.
No.
Roy knew mortars would soon rain down on the chopper, so he sprinted over to it and found that the pilot and some of the squad were now dead. There were some survivors though, so Mr. Rambo jumped straight into the burning chopper and began to just fucking throw the survivors out. He then picked up another gun and continued to shoot at the enemy while dragging the survivors to another more covered area away from the crash site.
Holy shit.
Somehow, Roy managed to get each of the survivors into relative safety from the crash site. Still, there were hundreds and hundreds of enemies firing at them and approaching ever closer. Roy takes a look at the team and knows that everyone, including himself, are on the brink of death. With this, Roy makes a decision to call in a danger close airstrike.
A what?
So, during airstrikes, I don't know if you know, but the pilots and the planes are basically directed by a controller that's on the ground who tells them where to fire.
Yeah.
So a danger close airstrike is given its name for pretty obvious reasons. The
Because you're dangerously close?
Yeah, the controller is calling an airstrike dangerously close to their position. So pretty much they're telling the pilot to drop a bomb on their heads.
Fuck.
As a result, danger close airstrikes can be deadly to the team calling it, so they're only usually used as a last resort just to ensure the enemy's taken out as well. So knowing this, Roy mapped out on a grid where he thought the best place for the strike to be would be before picking up his radio and actually calling it in. True to form, Roy's coordinates were perfect, and a precision napalm strike and several gun runs were carried out, taking out a big chunk of the enemy without harming a single member of the Green Berets. However, before long, the gunners overhead had run out of ammo and needed to return to base. The remaining enemy soldiers, which still vastly outnumbered Roy and his team, then began to emerge once again from the tree line and approach the team, before raining down another constant barrage of machine gun fire upon them. Roy got shot again through the leg and was almost out of ammo and couldn't find another dead man to steal their gun.
You'd just be like, come on.
He looked around at the team and realised that they were at the end, so he crawled over to each of them and gave each one of them one last shot of morphine in an attempt to give them like a more
Happy
painless
ending?
death.
Yeah.
As the team faced death square in the face, one last chopper arrived and began to once again open fire on the enemy and making its way before the squad. Given another adrenaline shot from this, Roy grabs his teammates and once again begins to get them to the chopper. However, two of the men were down deeper in the jungle and much closer to enemy fire. So Roy, as always, sprinted towards them. As he approached, an enemy soldier jumped out in front of him and smashed his head with the butt of his gun, fracturing Roy's skull.
Fuck.
The soldier
So
then...
he's dead 10 times by now.
The soldier then jumped on top of Roy and pummeled the butt straight into his face, breaking his jaw, before turning the rifle around and stabbing Roy with the rifle's bayonet over and over again.
No.
But Roy's a crazy man, and instead of dying, he grabs the bayonet, pulls it out of himself, chucks the soldier to the ground before pulling out his own knife and killing him. When done, Roy continues to the two down men, grabs another gun and at one of the men, and then with one hand dragging the man and the other hand shooting and taking down enemies, he drags him to the helicopter before going back to retrieve the other man and doing it all again.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So now Roy's finally managed to get himself and the rest of the team back on the chopper, which immediately takes off and was able to get to safety. So Roy had saved 8 of the 12 men.
Wow.
Roy was so messed up he needed to hold his own guts inside his stomach, and by the time the chopper had reached the base, Roy was barely moving. He was rushed to hospital where doctors identified 37 potentially fatal wounds. They began to treat Roy, but soon his heartbeat was gone and he had no pulse. So Roy was put in a body bag, but as the doctor was zipping it up,
Fuck off. You got to remember, someone's got to tell this story. Someone had to recount what fucking happened.
As the doctor was zipping it up, Roy, whose eyes had been swollen shut from the blood and all the injuries, and who couldn't open his jaw to talk because his fucking face had been smashed in by the butt of a rifle, is able to spit at the doctor, letting him know that he's in fact alive.
Holy shit. Fuck off.
What the fuck? There is just no killing him. There is no killing him.
Roy was removed from the body bag and sent to Japan, where he received intensive surgery before he was sent back to the US for a year of rehab.
You need more than a fucking year, dude.
Roy received the Service Cross and a Medal of Honor for his efforts. Roy died in 1998 from diabetes as a 63-year-old man.
Diabetes
What the hell? That's what took him.
Fuck.
Cameron, that was just...
Fucking beat that shit.